92 hectares land acquisition and distribution
Good morning po.
as of January.
Let me acknowledge the presence of our distinguished colleague, Senator Amy Marcos, forever present and forever first. Good morning, Senator Amy.
Wala, gising na yung buong probinsya, gising na rin ako.
The next big concentration of land balance.
Ano yun? Hindi, no. May nasa kanya. Anyway, to be tackled this morning is the proposed budget of the Department of Information and Communication Technology, and Committee Secretary, kindly acknowledge the presence of our resource persons, physically and virtually.
Yes, sir. Good morning. With us present today, from the Department of Information and Communications Technology, we have Secretary Gregorio B. Honasan II, Yusek Jose Arturo de Castro, Yusek Alan Silor, Asek Emmanuel Ray Caintic, Ms. Dorothea Joyce Zamudio. From the National Telecommunications Commission, we have Deputy Commissioner Edgardo V. Cabarrios. And virtually present, or those who have logged into this hearing, we have ASEC Vicente Sejoco of DICT, USEC Cesar Mancao II of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Center. And from the National Telecommunications Commission, we have Commissioner Gamalier Cordoba and Deputy Commissioner Delilah Deles. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to kick this off by saying that I pity you. Okay. Considering that for this year's appropriations under the 2020 GAA, I remember vividly that we recommended, the subcommittee recommended initially the amount of 29.348 billion as additional budget for OSEC because of your, yung mga plano nyo sa mga programa. Of just, ang budget nyo nun was 2.863 billion. Okay. And then the Finance Committee only accepted and proposed the total increase of 4 billion pesos for OSEC in its committee report, and 45.9 million for the National Telecommunications Commission. Sa plenary, amendments for OSEC were made on behalf of the Senate President, no less, in the total amount of 5.1 billion. Yung sa NTC, nadagdagan yung amendment ng 475 million pesos. Sa third reading, yung Senate version adopted as proposed budget for OSEC the amount of 7 billion pesos, or an increase of 4.16 billion from the 2.863 billion proposal under the GAB. And then sa NTC, sa Senate version, 1.09 billion from the original GAB or General Appropriations Bill proposal of 569.8 billion. Now, kayo na magtuloy ng istorya from there. What happened? Thank you. And we'll listen to the presentation of the ICT, courtesy of the Secretary, no less, Secretary Honasan. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning po. Good morning, Your Honor, Senator Amy. Before I request permission for Assistant Secretary Manny Caintic to make the detailed briefing, which will include the technical aspects, the DICT, your DICT actually has a roadmap for the new normal. No? We have a national broadband program. We have a free Wi-Fi for all project. And then we have a digital government and digital workforce and digital education. But Your Honors, no, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to focus na lang sana on the national broadband program, which is the backbone of our efforts for connectivity and the free Wi-Fi internet access in public places and the state universities and colleges. The ideal budget for the new normal would be in the amount of about 18 billion for the national broadband program. And for free Wi-Fi, it would be about in the vicinity of about 6 billion. The expenditure program approved 902 million. Your Honors, Mr. Chairman, Senator Amy, Your Honor, just look at the discrepancy. That is for the National Broadband Program. Ang inapprove po ay 902 million out of the 18 billion that we suggested for the new normal. For the free Wi-Fi, of the 6 billion that we proposed, ang inapprove po ay 2 billion 725 million. We requested for an additional budget of 17 billion for the National Broadband Program and 3.6 billion for the free Wi-Fi. So, in total, in broad strokes, we requested for 46 billion. We are earmarked to be given about 4 billion. Historically, as I shared with Mr. Chairman, no? Last budget, humingi po kami ng 36, binigyan kami ng 6. But we understand, with the COVID-19 issue, we appreciate and understand the contracting fiscal space, but we would like to appeal for any incremental increase in our budget so that we can pursue our main programs effectively. So with that, with your permission, may I ask Assistant Secretary Kentik to make the formal presentation?
Yes, Asek
Salamat.
Kaintig, please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. For the past years, great effort has been made into laying the foundations of the country we envisioned. Though still faced with many challenges to hurdle, the DICT have made big strides and will continue to move forward and become more responsive to the needs of the Filipino people. The DICT is the executive branch of government responsible for the planning, development, promotion of the country's information and communications technology agenda in support of national development. DICT aspires for the Philippines to develop and flourish through innovation and constant development of ICT in the pursuit of progressive, safe, secured, contented, and happy Filipino nation. It is clear that from our President's message, the DICT continues to aspire for the Philippines to develop and flourish through innovation. Next slide, please. Our 5 major programs for the next year and a half are the national broadband, the free Wi-Fi, digital government, and digital workforce, and education. May we show you a short video about our national broadband program?
Internet connectivity is vital for government operations and in the delivery of public service. At present, government offices spend around 350 pesos per megabits per second of internet bandwidth per month. This means that an average size agency, which requires 100 Mbps shared internet connectivity across the whole building, spends around 35,000 pesos per month, or 420,000 pesos a year. How can we improve this? The National Broadband Program. The National Broadband Program is DICT's blueprint for acceleration of the deployment of fiber optic cables and wireless technologies for the overall improvement of nation's internet connection in terms of speed, reliability, affordability, and accessibility, as mandated by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. The NBP also aims to bring equitable communications technology infrastructure to the unserved and underserved communities and other remote and far-flung areas of the country. Thanks to the implementation of the National Broadband Program, the Philippine government can have cheaper and more reliable internet soon. How will it work? Through the Landing Party Agreement with DICT, BCDA, and Facebook last November 2017. The Luzon Bypass Infrastructure Project will connect fiber optic cables in Baler, Aurora, and in San Fernando, La Union, providing the Philippine government with bandwidth of at least 2 terabits per second. The tripartite agreement with DICT, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, and the National Transmission Corporation also provides the government indefeasible right of use and or access to approximately 6,000 kilometers of spare dark fiber spanning across the country, including certain vacant lots, tower spaces, and related facilities. Through rigorous feasibility studies and planning, the DICT has crafted an efficient and practical strategy to roll out the National Broadband Program, dividing it into multiple phases with immediate yields. With NBP Phase 1, the DICT will activate the cable landing station in Baler, Aurora and connect to the NGCP node in San Fernando, La Union through the Luzon Bypass Infrastructure. DICT will then activate and light up 4 DICT nodes and 15 NGCP nodes that will connect the various DICT equipment. From there, we will be able to provide bandwidth to nearby GovNet clients and free Wi-Fi beneficiaries. Through the NBP, the government can avail of internet at a significant cheaper rate at around 50 pesos per Mbps per month. With this, an average office would now only spend 5,000 pesos a month or 60,000 pesos a year for the same bandwidth, saving the taxpayers' money that can be used for other programs and projects and in improving social services. This is just for a single office. The DICT will cover hundreds of government offices within Phase 1 of the NBP, saving the government an estimated 720 million pesos on the first year of the implementation alone. In the coming years, Phase 2 will cover more and more of the Philippine archipelago, and by the end of 2022, the whole country. Phase 2 will see the activation and lighting up of 96 NGCP nodes, additional 1.4 Tbps internet bandwidth for DICT GovNet and free Wi-Fi beneficiaries, construction of 10 microwave sites, 47 new GovNet sites, 2,371 agencies, and 8 expanded GovNet sites. The program is set to save the Philippine government an estimated cumulative amount of 34 billion pesos in internet connectivity expenses within the next 5 years. Let us connect the whole country. Let us digitalize the government, digitalize the nation, and National Fiber Network for a Digital Philippines. Let us connect.
Mr. Chair, may I continue?
Yes, please continue.
I'd like to highlight the scope of Phase 1 alone. If you can see in the map, we will be able to light up several provinces already with Phase 1 alone. That constitutes to about 62% of our GDP. Kasi yan yung Region 3, Region 4, NCR. Tapos, with the 2021 budget na nabigay sa amin at as of the NEP pa lang ngayon, kaya naming paabutin ng mga hanggang maka-tip of the beginning of Quezon Province. So makakabit na ang Rizal, mga Cavite, Laguna, Batangas. pero malayo-layo ang babaybayin. Now, klaruhin ko lang po, no, because it's always been misconstrued. Yung internet na yung kable na binigay ng Facebook po, yung nilatag nila papuntang San Francisco, tubo po 'yon. Yung tubig pong dadaloy doon, the internet, bibilhin po natin at mabibili natin yun sa murang halaga at iyon ang ipapass on rate natin dun sa mga probinsya na kanya-kanya na silang magtatayo ng kanilang mga provincial broadbands. So next slide please. Sa phase 1 pa lang, yung savings na na-compute namin sa na-compute namin doon sa mga probinsyang makakakuha na ng internet na yan, doon pa lang sa savings from 350 pesos na commercial rate as opposed to ang plano namin i-pass on is about 50, mababawi na po natin yung ating gagastusin sa phase 1 alone. Pero sayang po kasi, next slide please. Pwede na nating isabay-sabay lahat. Yung 96 NGCP nodes, isahang bili na po yan, isahang kabit lang yan. I-highlight ko lang po, yung NGCP fiber cables, nakalatag na po yan throughout the archipelago. Yung mga lugar naman na walang mga fibers pa ng NGCP, pwede po nating lagyan ng mga microwave radio. Example, Puerto Princesa, Siargao, Marinduque, yung mga nakahiwalay na islands. Pwede pong batuhin yung internet through microwave radio. Tapos po, meron din po tayong mga existing mga fibers na nilatag natin throughout the years. Pwede po natin din i-extend. Nakalatag na po kasi yung mga yan. So, kung isahang kabit lang ng mga active equipment ng fiber. Next slide please. Kung mamarapatin po ng Kongreso at Senado at bibigyan kami ng karagdagang halaga ng 18.6 billion, mas marami pong makikinabang na mga probinsya. Ang estimate natin, di mas fully ma-utilize natin yung ating bandwidth na mabibili sa Amerika at 1.5 terabits. Sa ganun po, mas makakatamasa po tayo ng savings sa internet pa lang to alone. We did not bother computing anymore the additional economic benefits or economic activity brought about by internet. Next 2 slides, please. Another slide, just to compare. For 2021 alone, kung titingnan natin from the UACS, Unified Account Coding Standard, we can take the internet subscription expenses of the whole of national government at 5.162 billion pesos. Lahat ng mga ahensya. Yun lang po may visibility kami. Pero I think there's a study where we're asking our staff to create a study including local government offices. Baka aabutin po ito ng 10 billion annually sa ating internet expenses alone. Kung ganun po, bawing-bawi po natin yung ating gagastusin in 2 years time or 3 years time. At 2 years lang po kung 10 billion. So that's it for national broadband. I'd like to move to free Wi-Fi now. Bakit po tayo may free Wi-Fi for all? Kung makikita niyo po sa mapa na to, marami pa po tayong underserved localities. It will take time even with the national broadband. Marami pong mga lugar na wala po talaga man lang matinong internet. Ang free Wi-Fi po is, sabihin man natin pansamantala, kaagad-agad nating mabibigay through VSATs and other efforts on free Wi-Fi. We need to start hooking up and giving internet to these far-flung areas. There are about 5,046 sites right now, serving about only 5 million unique users a year. We wish to increase this to a target of about 27,000 before we end our term. Why? Because 30% of the 47,000 barangays are considered GIDAs, geographically isolated and disadvantageous areas. So kahit maglatag tayo ng national broadband, medyo it will take time for the fibers to reach those far-flung areas. Our targets, our conservative targets as should be shown here for 2021 is 15,169 additional. Next po. The DICT is also the primary agency tasked to spearhead digital government transformation. So naririnig nyo na po yung Central Business Portal na nailunsad namin last year, last year, this year, and then continuous po yan. Pero umpisa pa lang po yon. Ano pa lang po yon, Mr. Chair? Yun pa lang po yung registration of business. Ang vision po ng Central Business Portal, kasama po sa RA 11032, Section 13 and Section 14, is dapat lahat po ng transaksyon ng mga businesses idadaan sa Central Business Portal para wala na pong pila, isahan lang, pati po yung mga other government agencies doon po nakaakibat. So anything that the business transacts dapat sa CBP. Sa ganon, monitor ng Anti-Red Tape Authority yung timestamps ng mga transactions at mapapabilis po ang turnaround time. Tuloy-tuloy din po ang pagtulong namin sa mga local government units sa pag-create ng integrated business permit, building permit, business and building permit po ito, licensing systems, para dun sa mga LGUs na hindi po nila kayang bumili ng magandang sariling DPLS. So, tuloy-tuloy din po ang tulong namin sa mga government agencies sa pag-transform ng kanilang mga sistema, pero ang nag-uumpisa po kami sa process improvement. So, hindi po kami kaagad-agad nagpabanat na i-automate, mag-uumpisa po kami sa process re-engineering. Next slide, please. Meron po kaming ilulunsad na ICT Academy. Meron po kaming 3 campus sa Valenzuela, sa Cebu at sa Davao. Dati pa po namin itong Telecommunications Institute. Ilulunsad po namin at i-repackage namin as the ICT Academy. Ang 3 po ang focus nito. Number 1, this will be the ICT school for government agencies, government CIOs, and even government leaders. Kung gusto nilang magkaroon ng advanced courses in IT management, doon po sila sana mag-aral sa amin. Number 2, it will also be the primary center for digital learning for the teachers. So pwede iniinkanyo namin ang ating mga DepEd teachers and CHED teachers. Doon po sila matututong gumamit ng mga learning paraphernalia, digital learning paraphernalia in this new age of digital education. At number 3 po, dito po ang magiging primary school sana ng cybersecurity for the whole of nation. So balak po nating magpa-graduate ng libo-libong mga cybersecurity professionals po. Maybe slide 26 please. Mababa po ang ating ranking pero we are working on it. To summarize na lang po, tama po si Secretary Honasan po, we wish to highlight talaga 2 key areas of our budget that we wish to be added. The national broadband, we are requesting for an additional 17.276 para isahan na lang pong latag. Isahang kabit, isahang bid. Number 2, yung free wifi po, para po isahan din pong paglatag doon sa mga free wifi sites, kailangan po ng additional 3.625. Lalo na sa panahon ng pandemya, marami pong gutom sa internet. Thank you po.
Thank you. Before I recognize Senator Amy, assuming that the numbers as presented are accurate, why can you not convince DBM as well as the President and the DBCC, yung economic managers, in charge of the preparation of the budget, ba't hindi nyo ma-convince? Yes,
Mr. Chairman, may I respond partially? We accept the fact, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors, that the appreciation of the government sector for ICT being the future is still limited. Ang gusto ho kasi is yung nahawakan, tulay, kalsada, so physical. That's the infrastructure component. But from where we sit, we believe that we can actually do this simultaneously. That's one reason. Doon pa lang po sa cybersecurity, no, we have been relegated to a reactive mode. We are tracking systems and networks. Wala pa po kami ron sa proactive na why they're interested in getting into our systems, no? Transportation, energy. So that's one reason. In fact, last proposal namin to DBM, as you correctly pointed out, we want to convince them, imbis yun na dagdagan, binawi yung amount. So these are some of the reasons why we have difficulty convincing the government sector especially that driven by a sense of priorities. Ang, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors, ang analogy namin dyan parang bigas. We have to decide if this is a supply problem or a distribution problem. Now, yung bigas po, yung analogy. If it's a supply problem, bakit nabubulakan tayo ng palay sa bodega? So, yung fiscal space natin, yung national budget, maybe it will never be enough. Definitely. Departments competing for limited resources. But if we develop a sense of priorities and maybe relocate ICT to its rightful place in our national order of priorities, maybe we have a chance at improving our fiscal situation for ICT.
And cost effectiveness siguro dapat tingnan.
Oh.
Di ba? Cost effectiveness.
Opo.
Anyway, Senator Amy, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I share my Vice Chairman's concern that until today, as the Secretary has stated, the government has not invested in ICT. Unlike the other countries in ASEAN where it is nationally and publicly owned, we are entirely reliant on commercial investment. And then we complain when they fall apart or they fail us or they're expensive and raise rates wantonly when in fact they don't belong to us. And with that, I would like to inquire, Secretary Honasan, please, what amounts have you received so far from the Bayanihan Bills 1 and 2 and the status of these funds?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, Senator Amy, mabuti po tinanong ninyo yan, no? Being a support agency, relegated po kami dun sa communications and coordination. So imbis na dagdagan po, even invoking the Bayanihan series of legislative interventions, imbis na po dagdagan, binawasan pa kami. Binawi.
Kayo yata ang pinagkunan, di ba, ng budget? Magkano kinuha sa inyo?
Hindi na. Binawasan po kami ng 4.28 billion.
Senator Amy, ang problema kasi, yung DBM, napaka-indiscriminate doon sa pag-decide. Basta nakakita sila ng congressional initiative, automatic FLR. It doesn't matter anymore if those are insertions for infra projects, maski yung institutional amendments na inintroduce ng Senate, basta nakitang congressional initiative, automatic FLR. And alam mo naman yung fate o yung destination pagka FLR, hindi na re-release yun. Yes. Yes, please continue.
Pero akala ko doon sa Bayanihan 1 and especially 2, meron naka-indicate doon na for ICT eh.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, if I may, no? Lahat ho ng department may ICT component. Ang perspective ho namin, tuwing lalapitan namin, yung ibang agencies and departments, ang knee-jerk reaction is interesado kami sa budget. Hindi po. Interesado kami na para...
Ba yung mithi? Yung mithi, ano?
Opo.
Yeah,
Not only mithi. Opo. So, interesado kami na pareho yung plano. Pareho yung end-to-end. Pareho yung roadmap. Para walang sayang, walang tapon. Yun po ang request namin. Dahil sa ngayon po, Your Honor, no, Mr. Chairman, kami yung integrator. Like cybersecurity. Mr. Chairman, you are very familiar with this issue, no? Kanya-kanyang cybersecurity. Diba? Kanya-kanyang CIIF, no? CIF, no? So, we are trying to integrate this. That's why we wanted to jumpstart the integration process, a reasonable budget. After which, we will recommend for our abolition in that kind of intervention. So,
Pero Mr.
bihira ho naman-
Secretary, wala kayong natanggap kahit anuman dagdag from Bayanihan 1 and 2?
Wala po, Mr. Chairman. Wala po. That's on record. But siyempre po, we have refrained from making so much noise about it. And we are, actually ho, itong punta namin sa inyo, hindi ho kami nagre-reklamo, nagsusumbong lamang kami.
Pero having said that, ano po yung priority? Kasi napakalayo nung sinasabi ninyong 18 billion saka yung 46 billion, ang layo sa binigay ninyo. Alin doon yung pinaka-priority, kumbaga, kung makakapuslit tayo ng dagdag?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, doon ho kami sa broadband at Wi-Fi. Idadagdag ko lamang po, no? Actually po, yung lagi nating sinasabi, naging mantra na natin, yung PPP, yung convergence, this continue to remain as slogans. So ang ginawa namin, ang usapan namin at least sa DICT, let's work on the variables we control or we have more control over. So kinausap namin yung private sector. Tumutulong naman po sila. Ang gusto lang nila is an expression of long-term commitment para kahit sino ang presidente, sino ang secretary, may long-term trajectory tayo. Ang tawag ho dyan, Your Honor, no, Mr. Chairman, is future-proofing it. And it is not even population density driven. Ang analogy naman po dyan, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, is para hong release ng trend. Pag kinonect niyo yung pinakamalayo, pinakamahirap at pinakamaliit, the railroad does not earn by itself. It's the economic activity on both sides of the tracks that generates development. Ganun din po ang connectivity. Iko-connect namin yung malalayo, yung underserved at unserved, so that hopefully, when economic activity sets in, then that's the way to unite a nation. So these are part of the situation we are encountering, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
So your priorities, Mr. Secretary, remain syempre yung national broadband pa rin at saka yung free wifi, and we'll do our very best to find augmentation. Magaling naman po yung vice chairman natin, si Senator Ping Jan. Itatanong ko naman, ano na yung status ng medyo controversial na dalawang bagong telecoms, yung Dito at yung Now Telecom. Can you tell us a little about it since there have been conflicting reports in the media?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, no, Your Honor, due diligence po kami dyan. May cyber security plan. Hindi ho basta-basta nakakapasok yan. No? I think we should trust our defense or security sector to exercise due diligence in making sure that these are secure. But the other side of the coin is,
So have they actually undertaken comprehensive due diligence? Satisfied po ba si Secretary Honasan? Kung ang NSA at sino pa ba ang nag-check niyan?
Yes, ma'am. From where we sit, talagang binevet ho namin, sinasala namin. But I wanted to add na kaya ho kami napunta dun sa direksyon na yun dahil ang nagpapahirap sa amin, can you imagine, Mr. Chairman, no? Your Honor, to build something in any locality, dadaan ka muna sa butas ng karayom. 30 permits, which we have cut down already. No? So napunta kami sa government hospitals, government schools, military and police headquarters, where we do not go through this self-inflicted bureaucratic problem. Not to mention, kung maalala ho ninyo, nagreklamo si Presidente na that's why it precipitated this deadline on December. Sabi niya dun sa players, I'm giving you up to December to improve services. Bakit po? Tumatawag siya sa dalawang cabinet member niya na nakatira sa subdivisions. Hindi ho niya makontak. Bakit? Ayaw pumayag ng subdivision owners association, homeowners, na magtayo ng kahit na ano ron para mapabilis yung communications dahil natatakot sila sa cancerous effect ng signal. So these are part of the problems that we encounter, and we are trying our best naman to educate everybody about the situation that we are encountering.
So So tuloy na po yung third telco, yung dito, at saka yung now. Talaga bang fourth telco yon? Kasi paiba-iba naman yung mga rine-report sa diaryo.
Yung now po, hindi po. That's from where we sit. After further inquiry investigation, hindi pa ho yun for telco. But having said that, Mr. Chairman, actually ho, there are about 40 telcos in the country. Yung maliliit po, nagko-consolidate na. So technically, we have more than 3 telcos. And this is a good sign dahil itong mga maliliit, nakalatag na po sila nationwide. Like yung yung Converge. That is the other, pareho ang pangalan ng third telco. Hanggang Mindanao, hanggang Mindanao na po sila. Ang hiningi namin sa kanila, including the 2 big ones, is pwede ba, bigyan nyo kami ng mapa kung nasa na kayo para alam namin kung nasa middle mile o last mile kayo, dito na lang kami kakabit para hindi na namin ulitin. No? Makakatipid tayo dahil limitado ho yung budget namin. No? So, another area, no? Yung education po. Nakita ho ninyo, naging visible kami with Baguio, which is moving towards smart city. Tapos nagpunta rin kami sa Zambales at a few days ago we were in San Juan. Nag-distribute ho kami ng tablets at saka pocket wifi. These are the best efforts given our limited resources that we are trying to undertake para may mangyari naman po with variables and resources under our control.
Yes, is Dito Telecoms going to be rolling out anytime soon?
Actually po, nagro-roll out na po sila, Your Honor, no? Mr. Chairman. In fact, there are twin initiatives on our part. We came up with a common tower policy, no? Which will affect Dito also. They're building towers that will provide single platforms. Hindi ho yung one tower per telecommunications company, no? Sabi namin sa kanila, bahala na kayo mag-usap, pero wag ninyong singilin yung subscriber. Dahil 10 million po, yung traditional tower na nakikita natin, 10 million pesos. Saan nila babawiin yun? No? Sa customer, sa subscriber. Sabi namin, wag naman, mahal na nga ang singil, hindi pa makakonect. So that's the situation we're facing. We're also coming up with NTC might want to amplify on this, no? With a spectrum management policy because historically, ang intervention lamang po, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, ng national government is the allocation of spectrum or frequencies.
The frequencies.
Opo. Yung frequencies po, pag-aari yan ng Estado, ng Filipino people, no? Ang nangyari po, yung telcos, and it was not their fault, kinuha ko yung iba, ginamit yung iba, at binenta yung iba. Ngayon po, gusto nating bawiin para ma-redistribute rationally to the new players. Pag ginawa ho natin yan, because the NTC is a quasi-judicial body, they will bring us to court, which is matagal. Abuti naman ho tayo ng siyam-siyam dyan. So ang sagot dyan is executive action backed up with legislative intervention. That's where we are now po.
Okay. Thank you. So we look forward to that. I noticed that the DICT for the first time in 2021 had no budget for confidential expenses when in fact 800 was given in 2020, 300 in 2019. What's the reason for this and how were the previously allocated budgets used?
Madam Chair,
If you are at liberty to say po.
Well, this falls under special auditing and accounting procedures, no, by law.
Of course,
Sir
yes, we
Chairman.
understand that
Yes.
it's a single paper liquidation.
Opo. Pero po, may nagamit na ho kami 400 million. By the way, Mr. Chairman, kayo ho, Madam Chair, Your Honor, no? Pamilyar ho kayo rito. Yung 400 million is not even enough to buy the software and hardware that will be obsolete by tomorrow. So, I was sharing with the chairman earlier that we have been relegated, Your Honor, to a reactive mode. So, nasa tracking tayo, but we submit our reports directly to the President And we are willing to submit that to the chair. Kayo naman bahalang mag-share nito for a better appreciation. Pero magugulat ho kayo sa mga nadidiscover namin na mga foreign entities na gustong pumasok sa sistema natin. Hindi lang namin alam kung bakit nila gustong pumasok. And some of them claim to be our friends. Now, if with friends like them, who needs enemies?
Why is it that you had no allocation for this year? Humingi ba kayo o talagang in-avoid na ninyo yung controversy ng confidential funds?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, humingi ho kami, yung binabanggit ninyong 800 million, pero binawi po. Hindi na ho kami nagreklamo dahil sabi nga, we have other priorities to attend to.
Okay, so yung 800 million nakuha ninyo for 2020 because you only spent 400?
Hindi po, tinanggal po, Your Honor.
Yung 2020?
Opo.
How much of that did you receive? Yung sa 800, yung 400 lang na binanggit nyo?
Wala po. Ang nakuha lang namin yung sa 2019 na 400. Gagamitan mo namin at kakiklear nung last 100 na tranche.
I see. How much did you request in 2021? 800 din? Sana?
Hindi na ho kami nagtangkang mag-request. Binawi na ho yung...
Not requested. Siguro last na lang po. You made a very
Siguro,
controversial...
Senator Amy, ayaw na niya maiyak.
Awang-awa na sa sarili.
Tuwing umiiyak ko kami, pinapag-report ako ng chairman at saka ni Senate President dito physically.
Kaya nga, ano ba yan? You made a very controversial statement po, Secretary Honasan, asserting that our internet was not bad. Despite the fact that it is the slowest except for Laos and Myanmar in our region of ASEAN. Kahapon nag-umpisa yung first day of school at lahat nagrereklamo pati sa Senate hearing kasi ang sama ng internet. Maybe you'd like to explain a little further about this statement na we're doing okay.
Yeah, bago sumagot si Senator Honasan, isingit ko lang, diyan siya naiyak. Kasi nung sinabi niyang not so bad, kinurek ko siya dapat not so good. Sabi ko nga sa kanya, I was teasing him, napunta lang siya sa executive, naging maramdami na. Anyway, sige, please answer.
Hindi bagay maging iyakin si Greg.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, tama ho yun. I apologize to the chair and to the Senate President. I should have really said, para medyo may positive note naman, na it's not yet that good, but we are trying to improve it. Wag naman yung it's not that bad. Pero, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, having said that, the global surveys indicate that we are not doing that good yet, but we are not doing that bad. Nasa pagitna-gita po tayo. Yung binanggit ko po dun sa ni-live stream na meeting sa House was a result of my personal testing of internet speed. Kung saan-saan ako nagpupunta para testingin ito at pumapalo nga po ng 3 to 7, which is passably na by law. But I understand, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, na siyempre, when you go into man in the streets, yung ultimate beneficiaries at victims ng slow internet speed, pag tinanong po ninyo, ang sagot po agad is, nagbabayad naman kami pero walang signal. O kaya, ang bagal, I'm working from home, no? I'm studying from home. So, we understand that and we take full responsibility, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
So, what would be the minimum speed standards that we can expect as well as the pricing? Kasi ang pagkaintindi ng tao, yan talaga dapat ang trabaho ng DICT. Ano ba talaga ang realistic expectation sa speeds? Kasi nga yung 3 to 7, parang pumapalya pa, tapos nagtataasan ng presyo sa data packages, ngunit wala namang signal.
Madam Chair, for a more comprehensive and precise answer, may we request the NTC to amplify on this, with your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Si NTC Chair Cordova is recognized.
Magandang umaga po, Mr. Chairman, Senator Amy Marcos, magandang umaga po. Actually po, Senator Amy Marcos was able to hit the nail on the head when she mentioned that in all other countries ay talaga pong gumagastos ang government sa national broadband. Ang nangyayari po sa ibang bansa ay ang gumagastos po at nagpapatayo ng capital ng infrastructure at ang gumagastos po ng capital expenditure ay ang government, and all the telcos ay nagli-lease lang po from the national government. That is the model that is being used in other countries, kaya po medyo maganda ang service nila. Wala po silang problema sa right of way at wala rin po silang problema sa mga permits because it's the national government that is doing all of that. Hindi po nahirapan ng gobyerno. So actually, Madam Chair, meron po tinatawag na may gumagawa po ng testing ng speed sa buong mundo. Yung pong Ookla Speed Test Global Index, they do this on a crowdsourcing way po. Ano ibig sabihin, lahat po ng gumagamit ng internet nababasa nila yung speed and then they aggregate it and then they
What
average
can we
it po.
expect, Apo Cordova?
Yes, ma'am.
What
Opo.
can we expect na speed? Kasi yung sinasabi na 3 to 7 nga ni Secretary Honasan, parang diskumpiyado yung mga tao, ang mahal-mahal pa ng data.
Opo. Actually po, ang magiging benchmark po natin diyan, Senator Amy, is I think yung pong ginawa naming minimum speed po na binid ng Dito Telecoms. For the first year po nila of operations, I think they if I remember right, I think 27 Mbps. Pa-correct lang ako, Deputy Commissioner Cabarrios. Kasi po kapag yun po naging minimum speed natin, that is subject to review, to audit by an independent auditor, kapag hindi po inabot ng Dito Telecom yun, ay magbabayad po sila ng penalty. Malaki po ang kanilang penalty for the first year. So, ang first
But that's not much improvement over the present kasi ang nakatali sa atin 23.7, di ba? Parang ganun
ano
din
po,
eh.
Deputy Commissioner Cabarrios, I think it's 37, tama ba? If I remember right, yung kanilang
Kung 27 Mbps lang yan, parang halos ganun din sa present, no perceptible improvement at all.
yes, Deputy Commissioner Cabarrios, is tama po ba 37? Can you
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the first year average speed, minimum average speed of D2, Your Honor, as they promised to deliver is 27 Mbps, and on the second year up to the fifth year is 55 Mbps, Your Honor.
By the way, it should not be a promise, di ba? Commitment yan eh. Obligation.
Commitment po,
Kaya nga,
commitment.
That's an
obligasyon.
obligation.
Yes, yes.
Yes, opo. 27 po, but actually, Your Honors, right now po, ang
Pero
average
pareho lang
natin,
yun sa ngayon. Kasi sa ngayon, 24 na tayo eh.
ano po, that is for their first year lang naman po. Ang first audit is January, ang second year
Okay.
audit po nila is July of next year. Kasi po, dapat nga po, as of now, talaga tapos na sila mag-roll out, but the problem was nagkaroon po tayo ng pandemic, kaya po medyo nahuli po sila. So we moved their first audit on January instead of July of 2020, so naging January 2021. And then ang next audit po nila is July of 2021. Kaya
And
po
then,
by that time,
sa July
55 na
2021,
po.
ano ina-expect?
55 Mbps po. Yun po ang
Oh,
kanilang
talaga
habulin.
naman, doble na yan kung sana totoo,
Yes,
no?
opo. So ngayon po, Mr. Chairman, Senator Amy Marcos, ay si Globe po at si Smart naman ay siyempre po mapipilitan pong humabol. So that would be competition on the market. Kaya nga po si Globe at si Smart ngayon ay nagkukumahog po na mag-roll out, and they are spending so much for their capital expenditure. Si Globe po for 2020, isang gagastusin po nila is 1.6 billion US dollars, and si Smart naman po ay nasa 70 billion pesos. So because of the entry of the third telco, it's per competition, so humahabol po yung dalawa ngayon. At maganda naman po ang push ng ating Pangulo, dahil po nagkakaproblema before sa local governments, ay report po ni Secretary Anyo last night, ang na-approve po nila na permits na pending po sa local governments is right now is 1,700 permits at marami pa pong papalabas, Your
So
Honors.
magsiset rin kayo ng mga presyo ng data?
Actually po, ano po
Sa
yan?
minimum speed standards, may presyo rin kayong iseset? Sa NTC ba yan o sa DICT?
Actually po, Your Honor, sa NTC po, but ano po yan, the regulated po, they will fight it out in the market. And actually po, medyo matindi po ang competition nila, kaya po bagsakan po sila ng presyo. Yun po ang
Hindi ko pa
mangyayari po dyan.
nararamdaman yung bagsak presyo, mahal-mahal pa rin. Ubod ng mahal kung ikukumpara sa ating mga kapitbahay.
Yun nga po, yes, Senator, yun nga po ang malaking bagay po kasi is yun po kasing capital expenditure po ng ating mga kapitbahay, other countries ay sa government po nanggagaling, kaya nga po maganda po ang suggestion ni Secretary Honasan kanina at ni Senator Ping na yun pong national broadband ay talaga pong kailangan paandarin at gastusan po.
Thank you
Your
very
Honors.
much.
Salamat po.
So,
Salamat.
I have no further questions. Commissioner Liel, ating Secretary Greg at sa Vice Chair ko. And I simply would like to support some augmentation for our DICT given that the only jobs available are online. Our entire educational system is reliant on the online capacities and even the Senate is depending only upon our internet. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator Amy. By the way, pagtulungan natin pagka nasa plenary yung DBCC, na kung po pwede, kasi we heard na merong threat pa yung DBM ngayon, na maski anong itsura o hugis ng lumabas na budget coming out of Congress, babalik sila doon sa NEP as reference. In other words, ang plano na naman mag-FLR doon sa ating mga institutional amendments. Kung
That's
ganon,
correct. I heard that also
parang-
po.
parang nagpapagod tayo ng budget deliberations, no, papunta tayo sa plenary. Once yung House version is transmitted to us, pupunta tayo ng plenaryo. Kung gano'n ang attitude, at i-FLR nila lahat yung congressional initiatives, without even consulting with the agencies under the executive. Kasi dapat sana ang procedure na ginawa, tanungin nila yung mga executive offices, mga ahensya, alin ba sa budget ninyo, sa tingin ninyo, hindi nyo mai-implement para sa taon na ito? Yan ang i-FLR natin. But hindi ganun na nangyayari. Parang ang mindset nila, basta't nakita nilang labas doon sa NEP at naging congressional initiative, automatic FLR. Which I don't think is healthy, ano? Maski sa demokrasya and yung principle ng check and balance, parang naging irrelevant yung, kaya pagdating siguro ng plenary debates at tinake up natin yung DBCC sa general principles, medyo pagtulungan siguro natin to pound on this issue.
Good idea po yan.
Yes.
That's a good
yeah,
idea po because what's happening is a complete derogation of Congress's
Yes.
power of the purse.
That is correct. Kaya ginawa na yan sa 2020. Ngayon, may mga unused appropriations na lumalabas yung iba't ibang ahensya. Bakit hindi yun ang tinarget na for later release? Anyway, hindi naman magagamit. At yung gagamit, kailangan gamitin, hindi na nila tiningnan. So, it's just an idea that I'd like to pose it right now.
That's right.
Para pagdating ng plenary debates, pagtulong-tulungan na natin na medyo pukpukin yung
Sige.
issue na yun.
Yeah,
Yes.
kasi parang they've taken advantage of two things eh. Yung 2019 na balanse, yung 2020, tapos yung mga awas-awas ng bayanihan. Plus, they took advantage also of the COVID situation as an emergency. So, parang hindi na tama eh. I join you in that totally. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Pati yung mga fees na nakuha nila sa Spectrum,
Ayun
hindi
na.
binibigay yung, we amended yung special provision, na kasi merong cap eh. Because that's a violation of the Constitution, no less. Kasi earmark ito, special law ito, bakit mo i-amend ng general law, yung GAA? Binawasan yung naka-earmark para doon sa kanila at kinap sila sa 2.7 billion. Yung GAA mismo, inamend na nga natin at na-adapt naman ito all the way hanggang siya na-approve ng Presidente. Pero hindi nila inonor. Kinaltas pa rin nila yung due para sa DICT, sa NTC, doon sa kanilang sariling collections. Ano? Anyway, from the chair, meron ba kayong data on the percentage of contribution ng digital sector sa economy overall, public and private?
Mr. Chairman, we're happy that you raised that issue. No? Nung Marso po, we asked for a chance to explain this, which the opportunity was denied to us. No? We could have shown the economic returns, no, and the analysis. Now, on a positive
So
note,
you were not even able to present?
hindi po.
Wow.
So, pero ngayon
Budget
po,
call ito? Sa budget call?
but we could have shown. Now, NEDA and even the Department of Finance is taking the cudgels for us. Kaya lang po, nung pumasok itong COVID issue, it has become both an excuse and an opportunity, which I hope, relying on the collective judgment and wisdom of the Senate and Congress, no, baka ho, this issue can be raised so that we can retroactively try to remedy this situation.
Meron kayong datos doon? Yung
Meron po.
contribution? Yeah. Kindly,
Thank you.
very briefly lang.
Briefly.
Yung
Yes, Mr. Chair.
percentage lang ng contribution ng digital sector sa ekonomiya natin.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Chair. An increase po of about 10% on penetration of the internet can drastically increase our digital economy by at least 1.3% annually. So we need to increase our penetration by about 10%, and 1.3% is already billions po. So bawing-bawi na po siya dun.
Okay. Yung, di ba nag-survey kayo? Ito yung National ICT Household Survey. Eye-opener ito, di ba? Kasi yung survey, ang na-reveal dito, sa mga household respondents, ang majority pala ng households natin, nasa mga 84% plus, walang access sa internet. Ang may access lamang, nasa mga 15.7%. So kung ganun ang situation, hindi ba, paano tayo magpupunta sa yung sa learning program, ano, na virtual? Napakahirap, hindi ba? And then, doon sa mga na-interview ninyo na mga internet users, yung 19.9% hindi, yun lang nakaka-access sa government websites. The rest, yung 80% plus, wala silang na-access na sites. So kindly, how do we make, what to make of this? Survey ninyo ito eh. Kayo nag-survey nito. Kayo ba nag-conduct ng survey? DICT? So yun, how do we?
Mr. Chair, thank you for pointing out our National ICT Household Survey. In fact, sir, that's the reason why ang immediate naming response muna habang we will build the national fiber backbone is the free Wi-Fi for all. Because that is the most rapid way of distributing Wi-Fi through VSAT installations nationwide. And we intend nga to add 15,000 by next year. Isa po nga po sa aming dasal sa Kongreso at sa Senado is to allow us to also ease up the procurement provisions of Bayanihan 2 kasi hindi ganun siya ka-specific na we can also use it for the free Wi-Fi initiatives. Lahat ng ating digital connectivity, hindi ganun ka-clear po eh. It's only, ang easing up of the procurement is for health and education. So, kailangan pa na more liberal interpretation. But kung mamarapatin po nyo, that's our immediate response, yung VSAT Wi-Fi na installations. Yung budget po namin ngayon na 2.4, kung madagdagan nyo nga po nga, tama po kayo kanina, Mr. Chair, no? Yung SUF po, yung contribution po namin to the Philippine economy as the telco is the SUF, yung bayad ng mga telco. pero percentage lang po doon ang aming nasa amin. So kung ma-free up nyo rin po ang SUF, actually po Mr. Chair, pwedeng doon lang po nga po namin i-charge dapat yung national broadband eh. Di ba? Kung tutuusin, kung dahil ngayon 10 billion ang aming na-collect na SUF, kahit yun na lang eh. Di dapat,
Use of fund na lang.
yes po, para ko ba, special purpose fund siya, di ba? Parang tobacco tax. Dapat meron kaming...
But the problem is, unlike ito na experience ko sa PNP yung mga trust receipts, ang gusto talaga ng gobyerno, ipapasok mo muna sa treasury bago ka magmamakaawa na ibalik nyo sa amin. Yeah, I've always been batting for, baka pwedeng ilista na lang doon, tapos yung use of fund, idiretso na sa agency. Anyway, kayo naman nagko-collecta and i-account din naman yan, i-audit din naman yan eh. But I cannot understand kung bakit ang gustong-gusto ng national government o yung treasury or DBM, papasok mo na sa kanila tapos titipirin ka na dapat magamit mo. Sabi mo nga, pwedeng stand alone, hindi na aasa sa GAA sa annual expenditure program. Paggamit nyo na lang sa amin yung aming mga fees at makaka-deliver kayo. So again, whatever problem or problems we discuss here, babalik at babalik tayo sa original na problem ninyo na to attend to the national broadband program at saka yung sa Wi-Fi, di ba, yung free Wi-Fi. Kasi ito yung backbone, pwedeng sabihin natin, backbone na ng economy ito eh. Kasi in this day and age of modern information technology, wala tayo talagang reason na hindi mag-catch up or to be at par with the neighboring countries. Considering na yung investors, titingnan din nila, ang unang tinatanong nga minsan hindi na yung ibang factors. Kumusta ang internet speed? Pag nalaman nilang ganon, dito na lang kami sa Vietnam. Kasi yung kanilang cell sites, nasa mga 67,000 o siguro mahigit pa ngayon. Sa Pilipinas, ilan ang natin? Siguro abot lang tayo, wala pang 20,000. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, to support po that, yung national broadband at saka yung free Wi-Fi, tuhog po to doon sa sinagot po ni Commissioner Lil. Sa ibang bansa, kung gagawa po tayo ng fiber backbone, middle mile, first mile, middle mile, doon tutuhog ang mga tore ng mga telco. So, hindi lang dadami, mumura. Tinatanong kanina ni Senator Amy po na babagsak ang presyo. Kaya po mahal, kasi ang mahal po yung paglatag pa po ng fiber kung saan magkakaroon ang tore. So kung ang government po ang maglalatag ng fiber, so ang mga smart globe dito, doon na lang sila kakabit sa ating mga fiber. Tapos doon din sila magdi-distribute to the residentials. We do not wish to compete with the private sector market. Pero as the government, maganda po kung the SUF that the telcos pay to us, we will reinvest it in creating the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure po.
Senator Amy, are you raising your hand? O may kausap ka dyan?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Secretary.
if I may add, yung dinescribe po ninyo na experience niyo even in the PNP is only part of the problem. Dahil as a technical support department, kami ho ang in charge dun sa tubo, sa connectivity. Iba pa hong usapin yung content. So ang sinasabi po natin from how you describe it is up to a certain level, it must be end-user driven. Ang magsasabi kung ano ang kailangan, hindi ho ito, this is not part of the discretion of the, let's say, the DBM. Hindi sila magsasabi kung ano ang kailangan. So, sinusubmit po namin yun. So, kaya po, dito sa binanggit natin na let's say, sa DepEd, kami ho nag-allocate na, as per instructions of the President, ng frequencies. And we have discovered that bukod doon sa TV, yung blended learning, marami hong bakanting frequency sa radio. So we're exploring all possible options to accomplish the mission. But as a technical support department, kami lang ho ang in charge nung highway, nung digital highway. Yung padadaanin doon is already a function of convergence and coordination.
Commissioner Lil or siguro si Deputy Commissioner, ilan pa ba yung frequency nyo available? Marami pa? I remember when I was with OPAR, di ba, pinagamit nyo kami ng isang government frequency na medyo maganda and di pa ako napagpasalamat pala.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Senator Lacson. Ano po naman yun pong International Telecoms Union ay tuloy-tuloy po ang paggawa ng mga resolutions para po madagdagan ng frequencies na available po. Yun pong nabigay sa OPAR noon is still available po right now dahil tapos na po yun pong work of OPAR. Your honors. Opo.
Sa aming empathy.
Opo, tama po.
Anyway, ito isang problema, no? Yung nung nag-start yung quarantine nung March, di ba? Hanggang ngayon, yung membership inquiry portal ng PhilHealth inaccessible. So, may pandemic tayo, tapos may mga risk na lumabas, kaya asa ngayon do sa internet service accessibility ng portal. Ano status na ngayon nun? Yung status ng online services nyo sa sa mga government agencies. Yung PhilHealth naman to. Kasi inaccessible yung kanilang Is it still the situation?
Mr. Chair, pardon me, pero I'm not very particular whether the DICT's online services division is the one hosting the PhilHealth because I believe they have quite their own infrastructure po eh. So baka kanila po yung hosting nun.
Baka sinadya para hindi namin ma-access.
Mr. Chairman, idagdag ko lang po, no? Nung mag-assume yung bagong management ng PhilHealth, upon the suggestion of...
This is Dante Gueran na.
Hindi po.
Oh, si Dick Morales pa.
Si Dick pa.
Ah.
Pinapuntahan po namin voluntarily upon the suggestion of some of our common friends, no? Para itanong kung paano makakatulong. This is voluntary po, no? So, we proceeded from there. But it's still, no, I believe, even in the case of PhilHealth, a baseline data management problem. Talagang nakalimutan nila yung due diligence doon.
Kasi minsan sinasadya. Experience namin ito every year in and year out. Tuwing malapit na yung budget deliberation ng DPWH, inaccessible yung website. Parang ayaw magbigay ng information. Baka ganun din ang PhilHealth. Anyway, so maski saan pa makarating hanggang sa sabi nga namin ni Secretary Nasa nung kadete pa kami, until you reach the buttocks of Marilyn Monroe, kasi panahon pa ni Marilyn Monroe noon, babalik tayo dun sa yun nga, yung kailangan yung funding for NBN at saka yung free wifi, which amounts to something like mga 20 plus, di ba? Yeah, 20.9. So, ang commitment as I have done in the past during for this year's budget ng DICT, talagang pinupurso namin. But, ang problema nga, pagdating na sa execution phase, yung implementation phase, kasi kami, authorization kami, yun ang trabaho namin sa Kongreso. Yung nagpe-prepare, executive. Kami yung mag-authorize by way of the GAA. Babalik na naman sa executive for implementation. Nandun ang problema. Even in the budget preparation, hindi kayo makasingit doon sa budget call kung ano yung gusto nyong makuhang budget, hindi naman ibibigay. And then, here comes Congress, the House and the Senate, mag-augment. Pagdating sa budget implementation, pupulotin naman. So, how do we solve that problem? Can you help us?
With all due respect, all we can do, best effort, is to give you the information. That the accurate, the complete information, no? Without any unnecessary bias, para you can help us. If we speak with one voice and deliver the same message, baka makinig yung department's concerned.
Yeah, and our best chat, pagdaan dyan sa floor.
Opo.
Ang problema, pag alis sa floor, iba, yung alam mo yung president's message, yung budget message sa DICT, ito basahin ko. Familiar pa ba kayo? Yung talagang ang emphasis niya, ICT. No? Teka, hanapin ko rito sa notes ko, yung budget message ng presidente. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed government's misplaced priorities and were articulated but unfunded policies. Yan ang sinabi niya. The horrible services of private companies are matched by government's ineptness. Bakit inept? Wala nga pang support. Parang self-inflicted yung ineptness, di ba? Parang you want to be up to it, kaya lang you're so helpless because saan ka kukuha ng pang-support para makagraduate ka from being inept? Yun ang problema.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
may suggestion ko si Secretary.
Sanay kami mag-gripe ni Senator Honasan, ni Secretary Honasan.
Yung po, for starters, i-allocate lang po yung connectivity prescribed by law. Yung SUF po, baka boundary na kami doon.
Well, that's what we did, ano?
Opo.
Naglagay kami sa special provision, di ba? At inadapt naman ito sa GAA. Na inalis namin yung cap. Anong ginawa? Violation pa ng ano yan, ha? Because special law nga yung 10929. No? Yung sa spectrum, ano? And then, itong GAA, kahapon lang, dinidiscuss namin yan doon sa franchise ng Aerospace Incorporated, yung sa San Miguel, yung airport. Yung general law, sa statutory construction, yung general law cannot amend or repeal a special law. Kaya nangyari, ito nga, special law itong isa, inayos pa namin doon sa GAA, which is a general law, pagkatapos hindi naman in-implement, binayolate pa rin. So, where do we go from there? Again, we will insist, pagdating na naman sa budget deliberation, papasok ulit namin yon. But we also need you to do your part in also, making the President probably aware na ito yung consequences pag hindi nyo kami pinonduhan. At ito naman yung consequences kung ponduhan nyo kami.
We will comply, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Kami, at our end, gagawin namin yung tulad ng ginawa namin last year for this year. Gagawin namin.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add, Mr. Chairman, if I may add, we're concerned about the ticking clock, no? Because before the COVID-19 issue, our timeline for setting this in motion was about 18 months. Pero realistically po, pag umabot na tayo by next year, last quarter, government will slow down. Yung momentum na ma-develop natin. Now, we're worried na if this self-inflicted bureaucratic situation is not corrected and institutionalized, baka mahirapan na tayo, including the post-2022 scenario.
There's a request here from the LBRMO staff. Sabi niya, is it possible to ask the ICT to assist other agencies in establishing database, yung example daw niya, for BIR land valuation so as not to require documents that are already with other agencies? Baka pwede integrate.
Mr. Chairman, ongoing po yun, no? Ang problema well, not really a problem, no? Gusto naming i-connect lahat. Pero sila mismo, para hong PhilSys, yun sa inyo, no? Yung national ID. Gusto naming i-connect, pero sila mismo hindi konektado. So, ang hirap po...
Parang ang hirap pang integrate. Pareho rin yan doon sa yung R&D budget. Diba? Meron tayong DOST, pero sabog-sabog yung budget ng R&D. I was suggesting na dapat ma-integrate man lang, somehow merong yung direction will be provided by the lead agency. In this case, kayo yung lead agency. Hindi naman yung papakilaman yung budget, nakalodge pa rin yan doon sa kanilang mga departments. But, bigyan kayo ng poder or influence man lang kung paano ang direksyon ng paggamit ng budget. Para hindi sabog-sabog. Kasi pagka sabog-sabog, tama sabi mo, gusto nyo mag-connect, sila naman niya ayaw mag-connect.
At Mr. Chairman, naalala ko tuloy, nabanggit nyo yung R&D, naalala ninyo yung bumisita tayo ni Senate President visited. They plow back 15% of their gross revenues to R&D.
To R&D.
Kaya lagi silang one step ahead. Proactive talaga sila.
Samantalang tayo, ang share natin, nasa mga 0.4%. And anyway, magko-commit na naman ako sa inyo and I will do it. Ano, kasi when I commit, meron naman talaga pagkukunan. Every time naman, nakakahanap tayo kung saan hugutin. Na-adapt naman sa pagpasa ng budget. But you take care of the implementation phase or the execution phase. Kasi sa inyo na yan, sa executive na yan. I think, ewan ko how you do it. Pero kami, yung end namin, yung requirement ninyo for yung pag sinabi mo isang latag na lang, all the way na ito. Whole country na ito. Kung bibiglayin, kasi sabi mo nga noon, tatandaan ko rin last year, kung tiyani-tiyani ang bigay, mas magastos. Di ba? Pero kung isang latag lang, diretso, mas malaki matitipid. And the cost effectiveness, nandiyan naman. So anyway, baka magkasakit tayo sa puso lahat dito. So isususpend ko na lang itong hearing and alam naman namin kung ano yung priorities ninyo. We will do our part pagdating sa, anyway, LBRI mo rin naman yung lalapitan namin para maipasok doon sa, at least, sa committee report ng Mother Committee under Senator Sani Angara. So that much, I will commit to you again. You know? Kasi ako, believer ako talaga sa ICT kasi ang daming pwedeng magawa pag efficient yung ating information communication technology. Any last word, Mr.?
Naniniwala ako rin, Mr. Chairman. In fact, napilitan ako mag-shift from analog to a smartphone dahil nga sa bilibin nyo sa ICT. We trust your judgment,
So,
Mr. Chairman.
alam naman namin ni Senate President kung bakit nasa 3210 ka pa para wag ka ma-monitor. Thank you very much. See you in the plenary. No? This is considered recommended na sa plenary itong budget ng DICT with a promise that i-augment namin ito. Thank you.
Salamat po, Mr. Chairman. Sa inyo ni Senator Amy.